Well, this is Point Blank, shooting from the Nairobi Serena with my guest, Dr. Boni Khalwale. Mheshimiwa Bullfighter, the day of your function at home, I think you had about 6,000 guests from your constituency and the wider Kakamega when you were making your political move to join Jubilee. And I noticed that right after that function, you gave a tweet thanking the Deputy President for having come to you, and then also thanking him for spending 2 million shillings in a fundraiser in Bungoma. Now, as you're aware, there's been a national debate about millions and millions of shillings following the DP's campaign, even in churches and everywhere. There is almost a choir or a chorus now that it's money that's driving the DP and his agenda. And when you tweet confirming that he's that generous, doesn't this lend credence to those who raise that issue?
No, in fact, it gives credit to the Deputy President and our team to the extent that we have somebody who is committed to changing the lives of the Holoi Poloi. Let's start from my home. I had 6,000 delegates. The hosting is not the issue because it was a question of cooking ugali, kuku, and mrenda, which is there in plenty in my home. The issue is the 2 million he gave at Malinya Primary. That money, he was prepared. Way back on 31st of December, he had promised that school that he would lift their affairs by giving them 2 million. So he came 5 months later when he was prepared. Number two, when we left and he went to Bungoma, that was a prearranged women's group Harambee, Empowerment Harambee, for which we all went and followed him. If you ask me, the money he gave there, he gave 2 million for himself and 2 million from His Excellency the President. We were very happy. If you ask me where the 3 million came from, it would be unfair. You should be asking me where the money I contributed as Boni Khalwale came from. We want to encourage the Deputy President and the President to continue coming and participating in those little movements that change the lives of our people.
It's very important. I want to deal with this matter in a sober way.
Yes.
Because these matters are emotive.
Yes.
On supporters and opponents.
Yes.
David Murathe, the Vice Chair of Jubilee, was here at Point Blank.
Yes.
And I know you must have seen this program. And he said that when the Deputy President goes out there on Harambes and removes money in the name of the President, that is not true. He said it here at Point Blank, that the President did not send William RUTO with 2 million shillings, that William RUTO is removing the money and using the name of the President. That was what David Murathe said. What do you say to that?
I'm not in a position to respond to that one because I do not know the President to that level. What they do with the RUTO in a tete-a-tete, I cannot make myself an authority.
Because why I'm asking you this,
yes.
You've got a group of Central Kenya MPs
yes.
from Kenyatta's area, led by Maina Kamanda and this Wambugo, the Deputy Governor of Kiambu, making statements even as late as yesterday that William RUTO is not welcome in Central Kenya without Kenyatta. Kenyans and millions of them are looking at you today because people are confused. Is Uhuru Kenyatta supporting RUTO? Isaac RUTO was here last week and said that he has not heard Kenyatta say he's supporting RUTO for 2022. He has not heard Kenyatta say anything then leave politics of 2022. So my question then is, if Kenyatta is publicly saying no to politics of 2022, support by 4 agenda, and at the same time the deputy is claiming that Kenyatta has sent him to this escapade, who do Kenyans believe? Who do Kenyans trust?
I would choose to believe what I believe. And I would expect Kenyans to believe what they believe. However, to give audience to views. Just like Maina Kamanda is saying those things, trying to give the impression that it is a Kikuyu leader speaking, I am also aware that on the RUTO side, we also have some very credible Kikuyu leaders, up to and including Waititu, Kimani Ichung'wah, and others, Nyoro and what have you. In fact, they are the majority. So until President Uhuru will tell us that commander is his spokesperson, it is then when I would say what commander has said is what Uhuru has sent him. Until he says that Murathe is his spokesperson, I would not take Murathe seriously. And for information, Murathe was in third year when I was in first year at the University of Nairobi. We've known each other for that long. I don't think Murathe has political gravitas. He has the moral high ground in the political arena of Kenya to guide the country.
So I'm asking you again, and this is very simple,
Yes.
and again in a very, very calm way,
Yes.
in point blank.
Yes.
The president has said that the state of the nation, he has said himself on several occasions that he does not want to hear any talk of 2022 politics. He has said that he wants the country to concentrate on the 4-point agenda. William Ruto and his team, including you, have said that 2022 is a mission you're on, and every weekend, including when you defected, that was the agenda. And I'm asking any intelligent Kenyan watching will want you to say, isn't this a disconnect with what Kenyatta wishes and what Ruto is doing? Has there not been a breakdown of the Uhuru-Ruto marriage?
I can speak very well for myself, and I want to confirm that in all the functions that I've attended with the Deputy President, he never misses a chance to speak to only one thing, development. He'll either be emphasizing one or all the 4 agenda items, or he'll be making a contribution positive towards one or all of them. It is only me who has come out clearly, and the footage is there, it has been played by the media houses in Kenya, that I feel because I'm a free molecule, politically, so to speak, I'm the only one who can practice politics because I'm not sitting in an elective office. I'm simply doing practice. Me, I am a bit different. But for them, they have an office to defend.
So as we move on,
Yes.
so I want to give you fairness. Musalia Mudavadi, who you named, and you said he has made wrong political decisions. Among them, the Kikuyu abandoned him. He believed the Mount Kenya region will back him for president. In fact, he held a press conference. He had an agreement with Kenyatta and Ruto and others that he would be the candidate, preferred candidate. And then the Mount Kenya region moved at the end. Critics of the deputy president say that the Kikuyu nation, through Kenyatta, will abandon him in 2022. You, as a key component or player within the RUTO game plan, do you have an alternative? Do you have a plan B? Should the Kikuyu nation abandon Ishoangwa and Waitito, who you claim are big, if they become themselves casualties of Kikuyu betrayal, what does RUTO's game plan entail to get votes outside the region?
I would like to urge my brother Tony Kashoga and other like-minded leaders from Central Province to slowly accept that tribalism is part of the problem that we have as a country. So the more we try to create a tribal narrative, the more we hurt the country even more. What President Uhuru achieved with Ruto in 2013 and 2017 went a long way in killing the role of tribalism and tribal thinking in voting. Similarly, on my former side of NASA, we did quite a bit because we were able to also kill that and rally big tribes behind a candidate who was not from their community. So please don't keep on reminding our youth about how the Kikuyu will think as a tribe. There's nobody who thinks as a tribe. People think as individuals. Let me give you an example. I come from an area where the issue of 40 against 1, 41 against 1, was solved effectively in 2007. But we got Kibaki seats and we got ourselves elected on the Kibaki side, and I had my people that time. They were saying no to tribalism. So I have made this decision knowing that if you approach politics using the tribal agenda, you will only get as many votes as your tribe can put on the table. On Mudavadi's side, we have a voting capacity of around 17% in the whole country. Where is he going to get the 33% plus 1 that is required? Is the kind of thinking that crushed Mheshimiwa Kijana Wamalwa when he ran in 1997. We were saying, "Shienyu ni shienyu. You must vote for one of your own." It didn't work. The other theory which Mudavadi and I used in 2013 and which you have ably spoken to is the issue of endorsement. We are expected that RUTO and Uhuru would endorse Mudavadi, although they did it momentarily for a short while. Mudavadi enjoyed it. But that endorsement, I learned that it doesn't work. The voters might not necessarily buy in when a boardroom decision is made on endorsement. So if there are people, and I spoke to this in Malinya, whose game plan is that Uhuru is going to be endorsing them, they better realize that that does not always work. Moi endorsed Uhuru in 2002, Kenyans rejected. Kibaki attempted to endorse Mudavadi in 2013, Mount Kenya rejected. So whoever is waiting to be endorsed, let him also wait for them, the same results.
So Boni, and I'm asking point blank, and we'll move on to another subject.
Yeah.
You are saying, I'm not saying,
Yeah.
that if Uhuru Kenyatta does not endorse William Ruto,
Yes.
the Ruto camp is confident enough it will get enough votes from Central Kenya regardless of that endorsement. I'm asking you a political question, not a tribal question. For the same reasons, you as Western Kenya are supporting the Ruto presidency to get people from the Mulembe nation.
Yes.
I'm asking because there is this argument by Kitaeleweka.
Yes.
And Kitaeleweka say that there is no marriage. There is no marriage. In fact, driving Murathe to resign from Jubilee and saying the Kikuyu are out. And I'm only asking this, you have joined Jubilee. Murathe, who is the head of Uhuru's team in Jubilee, has left. And he has said here on point blank that I have left and Uhuru knows I have left. We are not with Ruto. And I'm putting to you and saying, if they are not with Ruto, do you have another plan? Or are you saying you get Kikuyu votes, not regardless of what Murathe and Uhuru or whatever they say or do? That's all I'm saying.
Let me respond to that through reverse argument by talking to Deputy President Ruto. The Deputy President Ruto do not make the mistake of what Mudavadi is making, Raila is making, Kalonzo is making, i.e. that they are waiting for endorsement from President Uhuru. Deputy President Ruto, roll your sleeves, work very hard for votes in Mount Kenya, votes in Rift Valley, votes in Western, and votes everywhere. This issue of being endorsed, it is because it starts with the premise that Uhuru is a Kikuyu. If they were being fair to Uhuru, they should be telling Uhuru will endorse them to the extent that it will cause all Kenyans to vote for them. But to say that Uhuru will endorse them so that Mount Kenya votes for them, they are reducing Uhuru to a Mount Kenya leader. To me, that is not the case.
So then I want to ask you another question,
Yes.
point blank.
Yes.
Leave Central Kenya.
Yes.
Critics of William Ruto say
Yes.
that he has no kingpin around his presidency. In fact, they say you are the most senior in terms of age, in terms of colorful language. Who is a bigwig behind the Ruto campaign? Who can you say is a mover and a shaker in Team Ruto? If you were to dissect it and remove Duale, Mukome, etc., you bring Khalwale, who would you say is a team to play the Premier League for 2022?
The people who are saying those things are actually the people who caused us the problem where we find ourselves today. They are people who live on political opium, bangi, ya kusema kwamba unless you come from a background of either your parents having led the country or your parents having amassed a lot of wealth, then you don't have gravitas. Unfortunately, those people are few. They are not many. Those families, you can count them, they are not more than the 5 fingers on my right hand. That is the narrative that we want to fight. That even as you go to Mount Kenya, we have families in Mount Kenya which live in abject poverty because the so-called the big families think when they are comfortable themselves, then these families of the small people are okay. And this is why we are saying, if need be, the so-called insignificant leaders, Ichungwa, for example, Nyoro, for example, they will go back and talk to their fellow small families. We see whether the numbers will be on the side of the dynasties or the numbers will be on the side of the Holoi Poloi, which we choose to call these days hustlers. Let me tell you, if the person who is now driving this attempt to bring the dynasties together so as to fight the deputy president, if that person, he let down Moi, if that person disappointed Kibaki, if that person abandoned his colleagues, co-principals in NASA to go it alone for handshake, then that person is not going to hold the dynasties together.
So, Boni, you raised the issue of dynasty, and I want to ask you, you're a very intelligent man in terms of the body politic of Kenya. Jomo Kenyatta was a water meter reader. Retired President Moi was a teacher. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga taught before he never even served in government. He was vice president for a very short time, the shortest period possible. When did Odinga serve in government to become a dynasty? When did Kenyatta move from being a water reader? Because I remember Kenyatta died when Uhuru was 15. Where does this dynasty, and I want you to explain it in the context. People say William Ruto will have his children as billionaires because he's wealthy. What's this dynasty issue? Where does it come from?
It all boils down to the English language. What is the meaning of the word dynasty? Referring to wealth and referring to political power. Dynasty, and anybody can check as I speak, simply means a situation whereby your father is controlling power and you succeed him. Your father is controlling wealth and you succeed him. In his own right, Jaramogi was not a member of a dynasty, neither was Mzee Kenyatta. But the fact that he held the presidency for 15 years, President Kenyatta, when then subsequently a member of his family then became president, that is dynastic. Similarly, Raila's father was our first vice president, executive vice president, not these subsequent ones of Akina Mudi Awori and so on. And when Raila went on and became the prime minister of Kenya, that was a son succeeding political power. That is a question of English, and I think I remain right until now, until they change the English definition.
So let me ask you a question in English.
Yes.
William Ruto began his career as YK92.
Yes.
That is an organization known
yes.
to have been collecting money
yes.
from the regime
yes.
to throw and sell politics.
Yes.
That is where he began.
Yes.
He went to Moi's cabinet as assistant,
yes.
stayed within the Moi framework up to now. Ruto did not come from selling chicken. He came from the KANU regime. He came off and by Moi.
Yes.
And he came from KANU 92. And I put it to you, bullfighter.
Yes.
You cannot say he's a hustler when he was born of creme de creme. In fact, you were a hustler. You were out there fighting. Bullfighter, you cannot say that Ruto can cut himself from the Mois and say that Gideon has more privilege than him. Can you? From YK92?
I heard somebody say in English that if you know my name and you don't know my story, you don't know me. So hearing you, you know the name of William Ruto, but you don't know the whole story. You only know the name that came after he joined YK92. But his story started at birth, please. His story started at birth. Take time, know his story, even beyond the time when he was selling chicken, for you to give credit where it is due. In fact, after I started working with Ruto this time round, is when I've come to know him, I continue to respect him even more, because that is a true story of a self-made man, rags to riches.
Anyway, that's another story for another. Your brother, Cyrus Jirongo, was coming to Point Blank shortly. And he will talk to us about why K92. And the reason I'm asking this question is because Kenyans want to believe.
Yeah.
Because right now we have a problem with gold. Fake gold, I don't know, Dubai, tomorrow corruption. You know, the country is confused. Every time headline dams, after dams, gold. Yes. Now, nobody can believe. We don't know whether Maktoum is true, whether it's Photoshop. Let me ask you, Khalwale, this country is running confused because everybody is telling different stories. And that is why I'm asking for the credibility of the candidate, because we have to dig deep at point blank. Where did these things begin? Where did we begin to have a nation that is consumed by personal attacks? This country is consumed by appointing. Now, we have just left corruption. We are dealing now with gold.
I wish you could only ask me whether there is gold in a Kolomani or not. But this one from DRC, it is now very clear that there was no gold to start with. We are waiting. And I want to thank former Prime Minister for breaking his silence. He said that he's a whistleblower. And I want to thank him for this. And he says he is the one who categorically told the Arabs that no, the voice that you are hearing is not Matiangi's. Could Raila please share that tape with us, that audio with the public? So that we also listening to ourselves, because we have only heard the other one, where my former party leader is purported to be the one speaking. So that we can also make our own assessment. Others, how then did Raila become so authoritative to have emphatically exonerated?
So point blank, are you alleging that the Prime Minister or former Prime Minister is involved in some way?
According to the audio that we heard, which is the only one available so far, we hear Wetangula's voice, or what is supposed to be Wetangula's voice. He mentions Raila, he mentions Matiang'i, and he mentions the president. So we would be happy as Kenyans if all these people mentioned could speak. I have heard the deputy president exonerate the president. Because he is the principal assistant of the president, I took it that he's speaking from his capacity as the deputy president of Kenya. So I want, by dint of the constitution, to believe him.
Now, after dams aliongea, well, you can't use that. No, deputy, he cleared the dams. No, that is, no.
So we would like also Matiang'i to come out emphatically and say why he is not the person he's talking about. Yes. Because that Arab, when he's speaking, he's pinning down the person who is supposed to be Wetangula in that table, telling him, but it was agreed that Matiang'i's people, Matiang'i nominated so-and-so to hold brief for him, and Wetangula gets cornered. So we want not just disclosure, but full disclosure.
Have you spoken, Bufight, have you spoken to Wetangula?
Yes, I have. He's my brother. I have spoken to him about the gold.
Sema hapa kwanza, sema first here at point blank. Anasema nini? Was there gold? Was there? What does Wetangula say?
No, he told me, just like we are talking on the phone, my brother, we are going to meet with you and I'll explain to you that this thing, the whole of it is not true.
Oh, he says
so,
it is.
That's the farthest I've been with Wetangula.
So if it is not true, then Raila cannot have been involved in something that is not true.
I don't know.
Well, that is...
I have no reason to believe Wetangula. I have no reason to believe Raila. The only thing I can believe is that our investigatory institutions have told us there is a problem. And why I cannot exonerate Matiang'i? He's the Minister for Interior Security. How come GSU was guarding that residence where the so-called gold was?
Now,
he needs to tell us something about it, honestly.
There are two things here. One, Wetangula will speak, because you have spoken to him informally. And he has alleged nothing has happened. That is what you have said here at point blank.
No.
What did you say Wetangula
I'm not speaking on behalf of Wetangula.
No, what did
I am saying what Wetangula told me in few words.
Yes.
Because
the country is listening. What did he say?
Exactly.
What did he say?
I owe it to him that I had to call him. And I told him, my brother, what is this? He told me, no, we are on the phone. We cannot say too much on the phone. These things will come out that it is not true. That does not mean he was telling me the truth or he was lying to me. I'm just reporting back to the country that I owed it to him that as a brother I show my concern, genuine concern. Now, I'm telling Matiang'i, he owes me as a Kenyan an explanation of how our General Service Unit personnel was guarding that house. He owes me. Raila Odinga owes me an explanation of how he ended up going to Dubai, not using Emirates or KQ, but using a private jet. Could the Prime Minister tell us who was paying for that jet?
Haya, this is a point blank
Are
here.
you gagging me?
This is a point blank here at KTN News. The bullfighter anasema ya kwamba Ruto na yeye wanaenda Central kutafuta kura juu na chini, whatever Murathe says. Alafu anasema Raila na Wetangula waseme mambo ya gold. Mambo ya gold. It's KTN News.